Welcome back to the State of Love and Trust. It's episode 266, and this week we are flipping the script, just like Pearl Jam did with their iconic Supernova song Jeremy at Red Rocks in 1995. That became No Jeremy. Guys, thinking, what other songs would sound amazing if Pearl Jam rearranged them? We discuss. Oh, and wait till the vigorous conversation on Won't Tell in our Lyric of the Week segment. Oh, it's all next on the State of Love and Trust.
Hey, I'm Mike McCready from Pearl Jam.
Hey kids, this is Mark Arm from Mudhoney.
I'm Kevin Martin from Candlebox.
Hi, I'm Dave Cruzen.
I'm Tim Montana.
Hey, I'm James Joseph from James and the Cold Gun.
I am Matt Vaughn from Easy Street Records.
This is Richard Stuverud. And this is the State of Love and Trust.
The State of Love and Trust.
The State of Love and Trust.
Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Feed the algorithm.
Life's open and trust. Look, my watch be crash.
Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the State of Love and Trust. It's a Pearl Jam podcast, and I'm one of your two hosts, Jason Kerepesi, and alongside me, as always, playing the drums,
Paul Ghiglieri.
Oh my God, that was the most pregnant pause. That was twins.
Yeah, well, it's twins. It was DeVito and Schwarzenegger in one lovely package. One blockbuster package. That's what it was.
That movie really dates us, by the way.
Half of our audience is like, what the hell are these guys talking about?
I mean, I guess it's a compliment if we have audience.
Did you like the mic swing, though? I was like...
I did. I mean, I got to fix that in post, but, it's great.
Yeah, exactly.
What are we doing? Who knows?
What are we doing?
Welcome to the show, everybody. It's episode 266. Almost the mark of the beast. We're like a third of the way there.
Oh,
and
Lord.
Come on, Iron Maiden fans, anybody?
No, I'm into it. It's just it's dark. Dark.
Yeah, it's dark times, Paul. What do you want from me? I'm doing the best I can. Hey, if you're watching us here on YouTube, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and if listening only, Paul,
rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm. It has a need. We have a need. So feed that algorithm. That's what you need to do.
I also have a need for
You
speed.
feed it because we need it. That's what I like to say.
Oh, okay. I'm down. I'm holding a Pilsner glass here.
Oh, that looks like
podcast branded
2000 bootlegs. Love it. Look at
sure
that.
Sure is. Look at that guy.
Nice.
That's from my beer. I also have the mug, the Disco Bomb mug.
I like that one.
So these are two things that you could buy to help support the show. This is how we keep the show afloat. And you look cool in the process. Oh, I got a shirt too. I'm really shilling today, Paul. Where's your show?
Well, my show, I'm shilling the band and their, I guess this, where did this come from? This was like
the now defunct
fan club
newsletter?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Used to be a thing. So if you want to buy something, there's a QR code, I think, right there, and there's a link below, and that we have some cool stuff in there. So maybe if you want to help the show, that'd be great. If not, no big deal. You're here right now. That's what really matters. And also got a Patreon thing happening, Discord channel, really fun. Oh my God, the chatter, Paul. The chatter's off the charts lately. I can't keep up.
I feel like there's a new channel like every other month.
There is a new channel. Some of our patrons are a bit spicy on the Edward Jerome Vetter. So there's there's some, I'm not going to call it adult content, but it's, some
a great affinity for our lead vocalist.
Yeah.
As
although
I
will say
he's a tremendous iconic.
I will tell you that Stone and Mike get a lot of love in that department too.
All the boys do. They're
very
as they should.
They're beautiful men. Let's put it that way. What does this mean? I don't know. We're 4 minutes in here and we're talking gibberish. So, what did I say? Oh yeah. So Patreon's a good place. There's a giveaway each month, by the way, Paul. Did you know about that? A giveaway?
Oh boy. You know what? I think I heard rumor on the street. We occasionally like to do something like that. No, that's a lie. We do it every month. And what is the giveaway this month, Jason?
It is the very first mystery box from 90 The Original that came out a few months ago that is Andrew Wood focused. So, this is I want to say next week or the week after that, something like that, we're going to do a whole thing on Mother Love Bone's Apple, which turns 35 this month. So why not make an Andy Wood 90, the original box set, the Patreon giveaway item? So all you got to do is be a patron here in the month of July 2025, and it could be yours. It could be. Yeah. Also, we do some good, not just for us, but for the other people out there in the world who need the help. And that's a monthly fundraiser that we do. And this month in July, we are doing the World Central Kitchen. They do fantastic work across the world, hence the world in their title. They have served over 500 million meals worldwide, Paul. And I will tell you that they were here, boots on the ground, in January, February, in Los Angeles, helping those who were affected by the 2 massive wildfires that you all know about, I think, to this point. They also do great work anywhere anyone's hungry. The Gaza area right now, which obviously a lot of stuff happening over there. A lot of people are very hungry. So they are doing the best that they can to try and stem that tide. And if you donate $5 or more, you get the stickers, you get the pins. Paul may throw them.
I'm chucking them all the time.
He's chucking them. I got pins. I got.
But I want to chuck them to you. That's where I want to chuck them to.
I got the guitar pick right there. So all of this could be yours for $5 or more. And if you donate the most money to the World Central Kitchen, you will get this, Paul. I've got it in hand.
Outstanding. It's a
Look at this. The Last of Us Pearl Jam collab. You've got Future Days, All or None, and then the live version of Future Days from Mohana, and a redux of Present Tense, which includes both OG and newly recorded vocals from Ed Vedder. How about that?
Yeah, very cool.
So there you go. That's the spiel for this week. We got a lot happening in this show, Paul. A lot happening. I got so many notes.
We're packed to the brim. Let's get to it.
We are.
Let's jump in.
I mentioned recently that we were closing in on our 100th review on Apple Podcasts, and lo and behold, we have a few more that came in. One of them is our 100th, and that winner, that person, receives this. This is the cross stitch from Jill from Ireland. There it is, nice and close, so you can see it. Woo! And this is gonna be. We're gonna say who it is at the end of the show.
Yes,
we call that a tease, Paul.
It is a tease. You did not bury the lead. I'm just going to tease it.
Stick around to the end, and you'll find out if your review was chosen as the 100th. Well, if it was the 100th, and we'll send you that guy. So, and maybe a few other reviews too, because they're very nice. All right, so there is some fun, quasi-silly stuff happening later in the show, but first we have to get stuck into something that happened last week. We didn't mention it because we had a very gregarious show talking about the single soundtrack. We had Anita on, we had Shihan on. There was no time to get solemn. We wanted to kind of be in the moment, be silly, have a good time. So we didn't mention it, but as everybody listening or watching knows, 2 Mondays ago was the 25th anniversary of the Roskilde tragedy. That was in Denmark at the Roskilde Festival when 9 people were trampled during a performance of Daughter of all songs, where 9 people died. So it was a profound moment in the band's history, and I just want to kind of get our thoughts on what the moment means 25 years later, anything that sticks out, maybe how it affects us personally. Paul, I'm sure you've got some gorgeous thoughts to lay on us.
It's one of those things that I think it left the band without words. And I think that's part of what makes ARC so profound, is that there are no words. It's really just an expressive lamentation of emotion. And it's a very filtered focus on nine voices that were sadly stifled. And, I think at the end of the day, what's most important, and what I think the song successfully accomplishes, is elevating those voices and cementing them and giving life in a way that preserves them. So that every time you hear that song, you'll think back to those folks, and it's the preservation of memory for 9 people that we'll never truly know. I know the band has taken the time to kind of understand who these people were. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's different when it's someone that you know and love, or someone that you've even met before, you know? So I think it's really important that a song like this exists in the catalog, and it offers us an opportunity to reflect on the times that we all gather together in celebration of life with the band. And just it's a sober reminder that we need to be safe, that we want to have fun, but we need to be safe. And that should be the case everywhere you go, whether it's a concert, whether it's a political rally, whether it is a function of some kind, a fundraiser, a gala, no matter what, right? You want to make sure that you're your best self, and that you have the opportunity to participate in ways that are healthy, productive, and safe. And so can't say enough about how underrated that track is in terms of kind of shaping and forming perspective in that regard, even though a lot of folks, I think, might look at it in the same way they do some of the instrumental tracks on Vitology, right? I mean, there's a difference. Yeah. It's not filler. Nor, again, you know me, I'm a huge advocate for everything that's on Vitology. So I would not say I.E. Davanita is filler, or Privacy is filler, or Pry2, pardon me. But I would say that there's a difference in terms of the impact that two compositions like this have. And this one is, there's a very somber profoundness to it. So
a greater intention, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Far greater.
Yeah. One thing that has stuck out to me, and frankly has stuck in my craw all these years, is that fact that the Danish police, they had a report that claimed Pearl Jam was morally responsible based off of alleged fan accounts that were there, that Pearl Jam, quote unquote, almost appeals for violent behavior, which is that's insane.
Poppycock.
Poppycock.
Yeah, I mean, come on. They've been protesting against that, and they've been calling out fans and advocating for fan safety as far back as the early 90s. You can hear Ed on bootleg saying, hey, let's calm it down there. Let's be safe. Nothing but love. Come on.
And not only that, Paul, but like earlier in the show, Ed pleads with the audience to chill, asks them to take 2 giant steps back, which he's done multiple times since then. And even, Kelly Curtis's response at the time was basically saying that such an accusation is, quote, appalling and ludicrous.
Insulting, too.
It is. And then on top of that, they tried to back it up a little bit and walk it back. And they actually came to the West Palm Beach, Florida show like 2 months later. And they questioned Ed at his hotel for 6 hours.
Oh, my word.
About this to try and get more knowledge on the situation. Obviously, that moment forever changed how the band approaches shows, especially being very aware of security and sightlines and et cetera, et cetera. They didn't play open air festivals for 5 years because of this, right? And anyone who's been to a Pearl Jam show since then, or since the tragedy, knows how careful they are in any kind of situation like this. They just stop. They stop mid-song. They wait for the thumbs up. People have been so cool in the audience over these last number of years, where if someone's hurt or suffering something, they've waved their cell phone flashlights to get the attention of security so they can get help. And that's how Ed knows they might be in a situation. And how about the community for supporting each other and being like another set of eyes and ears for the band that way? I think it's just phenomenal. It's something that I think is very common amongst this community. Maybe something that's more distilled at a festival show because it's not only Pearl Jam community there, but nevertheless, it's a incredibly significant moment in their history. Obviously, we have at least 3 songs written about the event: I Am Mine, Love Boat Captain, Arc, as you mentioned. And, listen, it took them several months to play Alive again, as we all know. And the catharsis of the moment in Seattle in December 6th, 2000, forever changed how that song is transmitted, both from the band to us and from us back to them. And so there's a lot of layers as to why this is so significant, even 25 years later. Obviously, there's a lot of negativity toward it, and I'm so happy to know that the band, especially Stone and Ed, have gotten to know some of the families and kind of keep that line of communication open. And if there was ever a band to have this happen to and to make it make a, it's not a good situation, but to try and deal with it as best they can, it's a band like Pearl Jam, who exudes empathy and understanding better than most bands I'm aware of. So it's a moment that will always be a pillar of their story, unfortunately. But thankfully, there are some green shoots out of it. There are some silver linings, and I think a lot of it has to do with the community and how the band interact, and that love and that support.
Without question. Listen, you don't go 40 plus years without a few pillars of pain, you know? To quote William Goldman in The Princess Bride, life is pain. Anyone who's selling differently, or anyone who says differently, is selling something, right? I'm not going to go down that road, but I will say that you can't have the storied career that they do without a few moments that are highly regrettable and tragic. It's just a part of life, and when you get that many people together for that many years, and so let's just learn from it and grow from it, and honor those 9 people who sadly aren't with us anymore as best as we can.
9 layered vocal tracks to make Arc. And if you were lucky enough to be at one of those Riot Act shows where Ed performed it, then you've got that in your memory banks, because it will never see the light of day as far as an official bootleg is concerned. So anyway, we had to touch on that because it was a thing that happened last week, and we're aware of it. We weren't ignoring it. But, the way that we record these things can get a little unwieldy sometimes. So I want to make sure that we addressed it, because I know that a lot of you out there wait for us to talk about certain things. So there you go. Something else that happened very recently, 30 years ago, Paul, was a really different performance of Jeremy, as we all know, called No Jeremy. They played it, I want to say, 6 times across some of those 95 shows, the most infamous of which is the Red Rock show in Morrison, Colorado. So the reason why we bring that up, not only because it's 30 years old, and it's probably the most famous of their kind of rearranged tracks, because they've done it a few other times. They did it with WMA a couple different ways. They did it with Garden famously in 2006. So it got me thinking, what other tracks should would we love to see the band rearrange? And so I put it on Instagram in a story, and people got back and they wrote in their suggestions. And I want to give you guys those suggestions at the end, because I think we should talk about No Jeremy first and kind of get our 30 years later. What does this song mean? What does this rearrangement mean? How did we view it? Did we like it then? Did we like it now? And then we're going to give you our own 3 tracks that we would think would be amazing for Pearl Jam to rearrange now in the year 2025 or beyond. So out of the gate, Paul, give me some of your No Jeremy thoughts.
Oh, gosh. First of all, I mean, there's a kind of a repetitive cadence to the song that I think works well. I think it underscores the undertones of abuse and neglect, and the violent simmering that is just such a latent throughout the song. I like that it never peaks in the way that the actual song does. I think that that's an important distinction, is that this is kind of a slow burn, and it's almost like the Of the Girl version of Jeremy in a lot of ways.
Ooh, good shout.
And I really appreciate the song for that. And I think that it does a really nice job of just kind of hovering in that space and just allowing the instrumentation to breathe. And, you brought up this idea of a pregnant pause at the outset of the show. The pauses in between really give Eddie a chance to kind of focus on aspects of the lyrics that he really felt he wanted to emphasize. Whereas I think the original composition, it does that, but in a way that really elevates certain parts of the song to such high degrees that it almost overshadows other parts of the song. And I think that that's done intentionally, obviously, and with success. And I think the purpose and the ultimate success of the song proves that. But with this particular version, I also think it was a bit of a response to the fame. It's almost like a reminder to the fan base and to just corporate America that, you know, you're not going to bastardize this. You know what I mean? This is ours, and we can do with it what we want. And,
what if we fuck with it so much that you might not like it?
Exactly. Like, what if we mess with it in a way that it's completely reimagined and rearranged in a way that it's almost unrecognizable to you? Like, what does that do? You know what I mean? So in some ways, it was kind of like a big middle finger to corporate America, although the band wasn't quite there yet in the same way. You know what I mean? But I will say that it was successful in that regard. And I think that it has a very important place in the history, the live catalog history of the band, as a seminal moment when the band did something with one of their seminal tracks that had never really been done before. And we've seen since that moment the occasional reimagining of songs. And I think that have more to do with, like, if they rearrange WMA or, they do, something from Jack in a different key or in a different drumming pattern. I think that has a lot to do with them just acclimating those songs to the new dynamic that they have with Matt Cameron. Particularly WMA. I mean, some of my favorite live versions of that song are when Stone comes in with the guitar and we just kind of have that just kind of very, very different.
WMA.
Yeah, exactly. And it works beautifully. Or when Ed decides, I'm going to take this growling, minute-long song of angst and anger that is Lucan, and I'm going to slow it down and put some strings behind it. And I'm just going to kind of elevate or I'm going to highlight kind of, the emotional aspects that are really prevalent within the song. And so I think that they do such a marvelous job of taking songs, or Garden with that heavy intro that kind of introduces it during those 2006 Letterman shows. And so they do such a wonderful job of reinventing songs in ways that make them feel fresh, but also in ways that make them that accentuate what's so strong about those songs. Now, No Jeremy was different because I don't think they were trying to accentuate what was strong in the track musically. I think they were trying to make a point. I could be wrong, but I mean, that's my impression from that particular performance. It feels more like a jam session or one of those improvs that you'll see on bootlegs than it does something that they actually rehearsed. I feel like they were kind of messing with it and it just kind of came out and they went with it live.
Off the top, the first thing you notice is as you said, that mantra. It's very mantra. And the fact that Ed's playing it, by the way, he's got his red SG and he's doing the upstrokes. Like that's, first of all, out of the gate, you're like, okay, what's happening right now? But it's very mantra. And at first I wasn't sure how to feel about it. Like it's almost like when someone tells you a joke and it's funny. And then you're like, all right, it's not funny anymore.
No.
But one person is still laughing. And that makes you laugh. And you're like, okay, it's come around again. It's funny again. Like I almost thought it was kind of cool. And then I thought, oh, God, it's going on for too long. And then after a number of listens, I was like, no, I kind of like that actually. That's how I was in the beginning when I first heard it, a number of years ago.
Yeah.
But
has it aged as well for you?
Yeah, no, it has aged well. And I think because your brain has heard the original so many times, it's off-putting to not hear it the same way, to hear it change where it normally doesn't change, or vice versa, or Ed waiting an extra half measure to complete a lyric. Like it screws with your head, and that was I think it was the point to a lot of degrees. And the whole band, listen, when they drop out where the chorus is supposed to be, only to go straight into the verse, I think it's it's a smart arrangement tease, and they actually do something very similar on Why Go, where they ditch the chorus after the first pre-chorus and go straight into the second verse again. And one thing that I also noticed too, and I think you mentioned it, is the way that Ed picks out certain lines and accentuates them differently. One of them being picking on the boy. Picking on the boy. He keeps repeating picking on the boy. And he really hammers home, I think, why this kid got pushed over the edge. The parental neglect is one thing, but having your peers at an impressionable age, informative time, do that to you can be catastrophic.
No, it's
it's rough. And I really
Very
think
rough.
that there's part of one's upbringing where I think the nature nurture dynamic shifts a bit, where, the external factors really really have a greater impact than your home life and our parents and our DNA. So I think maybe this is what Jeremy is dealing with. And so to do it that way, I think accentuates that. And the choice to then not sing Jeremy spoke in class today during the chorus, I think is a really cool choice.
Very intentional.
Because everyone is singing in their head, but they're not. The whole
Right.
chorus is being played as relatively normal, but there's no Ed. Very starkly, very obviously there, very conspicuous.
A stark and conspicuous omission, for sure.
And another thing I noticed is that Jeff is doing some really wild stuff out of that second chorus too, that I don't think I've ever noticed, or that he's totally different. And that's a theme here because he's not playing his 12-string. He's playing his stand-up bass. And he's playing some relatively normal root note stuff. This is a song that is based around one of the most iconic bass riffs in rock history, and it's nowhere to be found in this song. And the song still succeeds. I think that's so wild. And to your point about nothing, there's no pop. Yeah, the song just peters out. There's no explosive drum roll, with it's just they just decide to lower it down, bring it down a touch, and basically fade out more or less. And that was a stark difference. And so all these years later, and I liked it early on. There was a time where I was like, what the hell is this? But that's just because you're not used to hearing it that way. But after probably 4 or 5 listens, I'm like, this is kind of cool, man. And I kind of sought it out. I was like, that's one to come back to. And so when they released a properly mixed and mastered version on that fan club release, well, no, they did. It was part of the Morrison, part of the. Remember, it was that and Falling Down. Was the 2010
you're right.
single.
Yeah.
So we finally got it. So that was really cool. And I just think it's just an incredibly, I think it's a brave thing to do at the time because, as you said, they were right in the middle of that transition from biggest band in the world and they're on the front cover of everything to trying to actively subvert that and see who's still along for the ride. And this was one of those little tent poles of that journey. And I think it was a really cool idea. So with that said, it was 30 years ago, a couple weeks ago, June 20. Oh God, I'm blanking on the actual date. Somebody will correct me. 20 something. Maybe it was the 20th. I forget. Anyway, got us thinking, what other songs could they do? I will say what the internet said on Instagram at the end of all this, but we've picked 3 that we like, that we think would be fun to rearrange. And I'm gonna go first, Paul.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna give you my first one here, and the first song I'm gonna choose to rearrange is "Once."
Interesting. I had not
Yes.
even considered that one. That's fascinating.
So here's my thing. Here's what I think they should do: make it a halftime feel, acoustic, super super dark. Okay, I'm thinking Stones, like that opening riff, the main riff, done on piano. Okay,
Oh,
12-string guitar for Mike, resonator guitar for Stone. Jeff goes stand up. Okay. Matt's snare is off for the verses, back on for the choruses. Chorus later. So it's got like a campfire drum circle vibe as well as just being dark and acoustic. So basically we're kind of going for almost like a Footsteps vibe here. That's what we're trading for.
nice.
And I'm going to say that the choruses outside of the final extended one are just a wall of vocals, like Ed harmonizing like a choir, like 4 or 5 layers of vocals, maybe more. And you know what? We'll add Jeff's stand-up bass as like a droney thing happening to kind of sit at the bottom of that. Now, for the guitar solo, I know it's like sacrilegious to say, Mike, we're good. But I'm going to say that the solo is played on a Rhodes or a Wurlitzer piano.
Wurlitzer
Yes.
piano. Okay.
That's right. Very specific. One of those two.
Okay.
And it's going to be like over these haunting acoustic guitars, stand-up bass. And I said, the final chorus, we're going to have it, everybody, everybody's involved, but we're going to add some strings to kind of do some dramatic accents to really elevate the whole thing. Yeah.
That is fascinating. That's fascinating. Okay. I can get behind that.
Once upon a time. Something like that.
Like
I don't know.
Rock opera.
Yeah. But better than that, obviously.
Oh,
what do you got?
Same album. I thought long and hard about this, and just in thinking about some of these different songs, I thought to myself, what are some of these characteristics that all of them have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other than Jeremy, which was this like larger than life single. Sometimes I feel like these songs, it's just, you take a track that you can just sense is ripe for reimagining. And for me, same album, Deep, is a song that does that for me.
Ooh, yes, I love
Deep
this.
off of 10. So I thought about this one. I thought to myself, there's a couple different directions you can go in, right? So we could do something that's like atmospheric, right? Almost like a apocalyptic rock version. And I feel the vibe would feel like ethereal. It would have this like spacey, emotionally distant feel to it. But it's obviously, I mean, the song is intense when they play it live, so it's still going to feel intense when it comes to the performance and the way the composition is layered. But I also think in terms of sound, like when you hear the song played live in the 90s, he would have this interesting vocal effect that felt like his voice was underwater and he was drowning.
He would do this. Like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I can see like this, like, so like you take this like shoegaze approach, like delay drenched guitars, you get these ambient soundscapes going. I think, Matt's very minimal at first, and then he slowly comes in a little bit more, builds towards those crescendos. I could see, almost like more of like a structured, evolving form of a composition as opposed to something that is, so regimented and cut up. I could see Ed's vocal approach being almost like whispered and a little distant, maybe at times, as opposed to, you know what I mean? A heavy reverb on this, I could easily see. I think there's almost like this like ghostly reverb or echo quality to the way that he could deliver it. And I can imagine the song almost feeling dreamy or more like a memory, similar to the way that Sleight of Hand does. Right? That's always what I loved about Sleight of Hand. It just felt like this dreamscape and you were just lost in the memory of what happened to your life. Deep feels similar to me. You are spiraling out of control and you are in a place that you're not sure you're going to be able to crawl out of. And so I like the idea that you feel like you're drowning. It's this like visceral plunge into nothingness, And so it kind of goes from like this heavy like grunge 90s song into more of like almost like a Riot Act, quasi like art rock meditation. So that's one way. That's one way you could do it. Okay. But, the more I thought about it, the more I then thought, well,
three ways.
Why but why can't we like really lean into this, right? Like, let's just like go like sludge grunge. I mean, just like Alice in Chains, like love, hate, love styles, just like start ripping into this because you can do that with this song. So I started thinking, what if it was heavier? Just like really, really heavy. How does it get heavier? Well, you tune the guitars down, maybe like, to C or lower or something, right? You slow the tempo. You got to slow the tempo down, obviously, right? So you're slowing the tempo down. Thick, heavy fuzz. Right?
Okay.
Thick, heavy fuzz.
I got you.
It's still 90, 91, so you're still going to have like reverb heavy drums going on the song, which I still think works, by the way. I could see kind of more of like Ed doing more like a drawn out delivery, but kind of like that same like growl that you had in Mind Your Manners. You know what I mean? It's really just like guttural. So I could see that really, really working. I think like, just some, instead of the effects on the guitars here, maybe the effects are on the vocals for this style of a song. I don't know. I think it just suffocates you. You know what I mean? It's a suffocating plunge into darkness. And I think it could be
suffocating plunge into darkness.
Well, think about the song, I get can't touch the bottom. I just think it would work well. I don't know. So anyway,
there's probably a way you can do both.
There might be. But those are the two direct, and I couldn't commit to either one. So I was like, well, this is cool. And then I'm like, but wait a minute.
And guess what? Our time is free, so just go ahead and tell us both.
Exactly.
that's Pearl Jam's problem to come up with the actual version,
Correct.
if they so chose. Okay, my second choice is going to be from the album Yield. No Way.
And I did think about that, but I could not wrap my head around how they would do it, so I didn't go with it. I'm excited though, because you clearly got to a place I couldn't.
All right.
Talk to me.
So we're gonna keep the beat, but we're gonna change Stone's guitar from a cocked wah electric to an acoustic. And Jeff does his thing. He's gonna stick around and do his thing. We're gonna lose the drums for the first pre-chorus, and we're gonna have synths play these big chords underneath it. Okay, instead. The second verse, we're gonna add Mike with some bendy swells and feedback. Wow, it's just like
nice.
Really like almost like retrograde, like just scape of like fireworks of wah and delay and all that shit. And then second pre-chorus, we're gonna keep the drums. The heavy guitars are gonna play along with the synths now, so it's really thick. And Mike is really bending into all these little spaces that Ed creates. Matt's heavy on the crash cymbal instead of Jack being on the hi-hat. And I think the full band continues heavy into the bridge section, but we're going to add a vocal harmony after each repetition to Ed.
Ooh,
so we're really going to dial up the layers. And instead of the band break with that lonely Stone guitar before the Jeff doodle doo doodle doo doodle doo in the little drum fill. Instead of that, we're going to separate those two with a McCready Fels Major. A McCready. I can't talk. A McCready face melter. This is how excited I am. I can't even speak words. My headphones are falling out. That's where I'm going. I want Mike to go wow wow wow, but better. And then Jack will get us in, or actually I should say Matt will get us back in. And then on that last big bend with delay, the band breaks again, and that's where Jeff's little bass doodle comes in. And then the last chorus. It's big, bombastic, McCready making all kinds of feedback noise. And maybe Ed and Mike are trading like ad-lib like riffs on that outro, you know? Very Page and Planty, kind of like Dazed and Confused. Remember that? Like, da-da-da,
yeah.
Da-da-da. You know, so maybe they'll do that. And no fade out. They're gonna figure out how to end it properly. I haven't figured that part out yet, but they can do that. But yeah, so we're really gonna mess around with this thing and make it like big and just... You know what? It would fit well on Gigaton.
Yes, it would.
There you go.
Yes,
there you go. No way.
All right. So this one, I found a track early in the catalog that I think is ripe for a rearrangement, and that song is Rear View Mirror.
Oh,
when I think of
the blasphemy, Paul. How could you?
But I'm telling you, the places you can go. As
okay, Dr. Seuss, talk to me.
All right, so look, I thought about, I'm like, all right, so what can we do with this, right? We can go like orchestral, you know what I mean? Which is how I want to go with it, because of course. It's tailor-made to go
so many
big.
songs.
The challenge with that, though, is that, for this exercise anyway, is that we've kind of already mined that territory. And I think if we were ever to say, hey, let's go back, Pearl Jam's doing a symphonic show, you know, what are 6 songs, 10 songs, 12 songs you do? And we've already had an episode like this, but let's do a deep dive. Like, what would it actually sound like? Then I think I could go a little deeper on that. So for this exercise, I chose to eschew that version. I said, okay, what other directions could they go in with this song, though? And I was fascinated by the possibilities. And I at the time, I was listening to Led Zeppelin 3, and I'm listening to a lot of acoustic work, and I'm thinking to myself, what if they just took a step back with this song, right? So I thought to myself, what would really work is if they took almost like a bluesy approach to it, or if they didn't want to go bluesy, they took more like a jam band approach to it. And that's where I started to getting really interesting, because you have this like folk rock, jammy, almost bluesy at times rendition of a song. And I think what it does is it takes what I think is so powerful about the song. When I say this, in particular in this, the what's emphasized in the song, like what really, really stands out to me in the song is that you have this emotionally charged song, longer than normal, mind you, emotionally charged song. It has this huge cathartic build, and then it takes you to a place where you're just kind of enveloped in these themes of escape and liberation and this like emotional like reckoning that you're trying to reconcile within yourself and the world around you. So I thought to myself, you can't temper this down too much, right? Because otherwise it loses all of its vitality. But I thought to myself, and the No Jeremy song is really kind of what got me on this kick, because there's a jam band. It's a jam band quality to it, right? So and that managed to still preserve the integrity of what made that song powerful. So I thought, well, why can't you do something similar with Rearview Mirror? Obviously, there's going to be an improvisational quality to it, but there's so many extended measures of just guitar playing that I think you can get away with that. I don't see it being like trippy. You know what I mean? It's not psychedelic. That's not how I can imagine.
It's not totally Pearl Jam does Fish.
No, it's expansive. Like, it's big.
Okay.
It really like explores the depth and breadth of what they love to do. But I don't see it being the type of rendition that's, super psychedelic. You know what I mean? They could go like a Neil Young angle with it, which I think could be really, really cool. Okay. But anyway, so you have this extended intro, just like you're going to have the extended outro. So you pair those two. Those are the bookends. You've got these guitar solos, right? Mike and Jeff coming in. You got phasers. You've got the wah-wahs. You're playing around on the pedals. I think it's looser. It's a looser groove. It's not so heavy. It's not so frenetic. It's not so like
is it slower?
The tempo.
It's gotta be,
is.
Right?
I think it's more of like a mid-song, like a mid-tempo instrumental jam at this point. And I think that his vocals, and this is where things get really interesting, I would like to see him take some liberties with the vocals. I think it's the kind of song where you can just kind of like drift away in different places with it. Almost like it feels like you're building the song on the fly. It can almost have that like immortality quality from 94, where they were still kind of, putting it into place and he hadn't like fully fleshed out the lyrics, or what we see with Yellow Ledbetter, which it just feels like it's coming together on the fly. So I can see that really, really working, just kind of stretch things out a little bit more. But most importantly, it's the effect, right? Because when you take a song like this and you perform it in this fashion, it becomes, I think, far less about feeling the trauma of that experience. And it really becomes more about like elevating yourself and transcending beyond it. And I think that's where it becomes a different song that doesn't lose its spirit, that ability to like escape spiritually and on the temporal plane, as opposed to just physically getting in the car and going.
Because Rearview Mirror is very much it's
a physical escape.
It's an X-axis escape. And you're talking about going Y. Mm-hmm. Open it up. Take the roof off the car.
Yeah, so I thought that could be really interesting.
Yeah.
But again, like with the orchestra, the acoustic approach like Led Zeppelin took, you could have a Neil Young spin on it. You could do what I'm talking about, what's more jam band quality. That I realized, just if there is a song in the catalog that is ripe for this, it is this one, because there are just endless amounts of directions you can explore with this one.
You know what's funny is going through this process, I went back and listened to the Pickin' On Pearl Jam. Our bluegrass friends, Iron Horse. And I was like, oh man, there's some ideas here. Go check them out, by the way. Picking on Pearl Jam by Iron Horse on your music playing service of choice. So my last choice comes from the same album. It is Blood.
Okay. I thought about that one. Similar to Lucan. I was like, hey, can we do that? Can we give it the Lucan treatment? Is that where you're going?
This is very much a slow Lucan approach to Blood. And I was actually messing around on that Telecaster right there earlier today, trying to think of like how that would work. And I realized that, B minor, D, E7. That's your three times, because there's three lines. You go three lines. And then there's three sections of three lines in the first verse. And then the chorus would be B minor, E, B minor, E, B minor, E, G, E major. And I'm playing this over and over again, and I'm singing it to myself, and I'm like, this could fucking work. Like, this feels like the slow Lucan approach. And I think the reason why I like this idea is because I think it's got sneaky good lyrics. These are lyrics that speak to how Ed was feeling at the time, that people were just picking off pieces of him for whatever they wanted to. They weren't asking his permission. You know, he was take my blood, turn Ed into one of his enemies, right? There is so much in these lyrics that I think kind of gets glossed over. You forget about what he's really saying because he's screaming them half the time or every time, really. And the music is so bombastic, and it's dang, gang, dang, gang, gang, gang. Like you're hitting the wall in the face with a wall of music, and it's just so aggressive. And he's screaming. Like I feel like just like Lucan, if you were to bring it down and actually pay attention to what he's singing, there's something really interesting happening here. And for a song where Ed screams the entire time, and the man is 60 years old, almost 61 years old, and as we saw in Boston last year, it's hard to fucking sing when you're that old, and you were smoking for 15, 20 years. It's hard. Cards on the table, it's hard to do. They haven't played it but that one time in 6 years or whatever it was, 7 years.
Yeah.
So if this song, which I love, could get some new life, perhaps
you could hear it more often.
The vehicle, exactly.
Yeah, I love that approach.
That's where I'm at.
It almost makes me wonder. You think of a song like Black, where it became very clear he could not sing it the same way that he did in his youth, and it has acknowledged it so. I mean, you can hear him on bootleg saying, we haven't played this one in a while because it's really hard to sing. You start wondering, like, how do the other band members essentially replicate what can no longer be continued in the original versions of these songs, and like how do they find new life in ways that I enjoy Slow Lucan as much as I do the original, if not more at times. So yeah, exactly. I love that approach.
Cool. So those are our three choices. What did Instagram have to say?
No, I've only given you two.
Oh, you want more?
I've got one.
Sorry,
I've only given you rearview mirror and deep
goodness.
so far. I'm going to leap a
gracious.
little further in the catalog this time, and
okay.
I'm gonna choose the boldest and biggest stylistic outlier in the entire catalog. What song, Jason, is that?
The biggest and boldest stylistic dance.
You know the song. That's right, sir. Okay,
what do you got for me?
Let's take this new wave, like post-punk, Talking Head style song, and let's completely just garage rockify this sucker.
All right.
Let's just lead with Mike's guitars. Let's move away from the synths. Let's get the synths out entirely, in fact, and let's play around with it. And let's create a version that's more stripped down, that's grittier, that there's a greater sense of urgency to it, which I think Mike's guitar provides in the original song. But in terms of sound, we're getting rid of the synths, right? Those things are gone. So what are we going to replace them with? We're going to replace them with those fuzzy White Stripes-esque guitars. So let's bring that in there. Let's have Jeff's driving bass power it. That's the engine of the song. And I think let's think about the drums here. We want to keep the same groove, right? But it should have this like dirty analog feel to it. Whereas right now it's like feels heavily digitized,
it's
right?
Very dry. It's very
correct. Yeah. But
pocket,
if it has that like early White Stripes feel to it, I think it's going to be an entirely different song. And I think that the composition lends itself to that if you want to lean into it that way. But in terms of what Matt's doing, because this is such it is a Matt song, obviously. What he's doing, his ability to recreate what sounds like an electronic drum machine live and say, well, it was never an electronic drum machine to begin with. It was me all along. So I think if he has more like a looser, like almost like live jam sounding, play a little bit more with the cymbals, I think it can feel more like a garage rock kind of song. I think that, Eddie with these, Love Is Friction, it's more of that like that post, that punk rock snarl that he'll give you on some of the punk songs in the catalog. I think that would be perfect here. And then I think in terms of like the lyrics, I think it's right now there's this like, especially in the outro, there's this very, very intellectual, cerebral, almost, visceral feel to the delivery, and I think we need to move away from that. So instead of like dancing, you know what I mean, through this world that seems to be collapsing, it's really just like blitzing through it. And I think that, turn Dance of the Clairvoyance into Blitz of the Clairvoyance, and you've got yourself something you're cooking with gas.
Oh my
now.
goodness.
I just think that there's something there. I don't know. I think it's the kind of song that they could redo in an entirely different style, because it's already in an entirely different style than the rest of the catalog anyway. So what if you reimagine this song from an entirely different lens? What comes out of that process? And I think it would be a really, really cool experiment. So
I'm down. I mean, you know me. It took me a while to come on board for the actual version of the song. So maybe this is my renewed entry point.
Yep. We're done.
Okay, so-
Let's hit me with the fans.
All right, so the fans had a couple of songs that either we've mentioned or picked, and those are Slow Lukin, of course. They want that done more often, I guess. Blood was mentioned.
Good call.
Rearview Mirror was mentioned twice.
All right.
Some said Brain of J, which got me thinking.
I thought about
Black
that
Circle.
one.
Black Circle has done that, my friend.
Exactly. They did a great job with that.
Fantastic. That would, by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Black Circle, they're a tribute band of Pearl Jam, but also have their own material. They're out of Rio. They're really solid.
Outstanding. Great outfit.
The original
Friends
stuff
of
is
the
fantastic as well. They are friends of the show, and they were asked to do the pre-show concert on the EBRP live stream in 2021. I want to say on Amazon Prime. Like that was like a big deal. So that's where they did it. Sirens was mentioned.
I thought about that one too. The ballad that
really?
never quite worked for me. So I would have that was my number 4 choice, but I opted to prioritize the other 3. But that's a good shout out, by the way.
It is an acoustic version of Insignificance,
Oh, good call.
which could be really cool. Yeah. And then Habit,
That was on
Which
my
could
list too.
totally
That's a good
work for a rearrange. And then 3 people said Alive, which feels both blasphemous, but also like that makes sense.
It's intriguing. I just don't. I can't see it. I'd have to think.
I don't know how you do it.
Stew on that one a bit more.
Yeah. And the last one here, I saved for last because it's a transition point, and that is Won't Tell. They want it to be really acoustic. So, which I think could work. But
Interesting.
I think that's the simplest transition because it's already kind of in that mold a little bit.
It is, but it has that like euphoric, that euphoric
How you do the ending, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how you do the end. That's what I'm curious about. Like, could you do retrograde that way? You know what I mean? Like, do you lose something if you?
No,
that's what I'm saying. So
I don't think so.
I'm curious.
Well, there you go. That's what Instagram had to say. So, what say you? Tell us in the comment section below, or the DMs, or Twitter, or wherever the hell you talk to us. Can't wait to find out what you want to see Pearl Jam attempt to rearrange for funsies, and we'll be in touch. With that said, let's move on to the lyric of the week. Okay, this week's lyric of the week, it comes from Dark Matter again, because that's the only album we have left. And we're going to go with Won't Tell.
And I always had one question, free-for-all suggestion. Do I stay or keep it in? You can find me here, waiting for your message to come. Can you hear and feel the change in my heart?
Okay, Paul, Won't Tell. You chose this section of lyrics, so kick us off.
I always had one question, free of all suggestion. Do I say or keep it in? It's that indecision. It's the question that you want to ask, but you're afraid of the response. You're afraid of the implications that come with the response. So it's almost like you're asking a question you don't want the answer to. How often do we do that? A lot more than I think we care to admit. You can find me here. I love that idea that you can find me in the space between. I think that is a heavier line than I think anyone gives Ed credit for with this song. Waiting for your message to come. Can you heal? Can you feel the chains in my heart? Man, this I've so often professed my admiration and adoration for this song. And I know it took you a while to kind of like, and I don't even know if you're there yet. And I don't know if Stip's
I'm not
there
where you're
yet.
at, but
No, you're not.
I'm farther along than I was at the beginning.
Which is good. I got to get Stip there too. But there's
calling him out on the show. He's not even here to defend himself. He's catching strays.
We're going to have an
goodness.
entire show where we just take 3 songs that the 3 of us have the biggest division on, and we're just going to hash it out. We're going to hug it out. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so here's my deal with this one. I used to think when I first read these lyrics that this song was like drenched in infidelity. that there was something, there was a quality, and we had talked about it. I mean, we had talked about it when we unpacked.
Did we really?
Yeah. I remember I had arrived at some strange conclusions that it was about the speaker was just kind of debating whether or not this was the right move or not, or whether or not she should be doing what she's doing. And ultimately, I'm in a very different place with the song now. I feel like it's very much about realizing that there's something special with that space between. There's something that keeps it fresh and youthful and gives it a sense of urgency. And there's something that gets lost when you close that divide and you bridge that gap to the place where that no longer exists. And you either find yourself in a position where you've obtained the happiness that you thought you desired, or conversely, you find yourself in a position where you suddenly realize and you have to reckon with the fact that this isn't what you thought it was going to be, or you have like irreversibly ruined whatever this might have been and could have been. So you almost decide for the sake of self-preservation and the ultimate goal of sanctifying and preserving what it is that you currently have, to not push those boundaries, and so you're saying, listen, I have chains over my heart, and the only way they're coming off is with you. But I'm allowing myself that vulnerability. I'm allowing myself to pursue something and give myself over to something, knowing the risks that are involved. And there is a boldness to the lyrical composition.
But aren't they not? Because they're not telling.
Well, they're not. Well, it's won't tell, right? And
Right.
so I think that's, again, it goes into like, this is the risk, right? This is the risk. And so you're saying, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to say, but I don't know if I can. And I have to weigh that into the calculus. It's you're balancing those two things, and you're asking yourself, is it more important for me to preserve that space between where hope and possibility and dreams exist? Or do I step forward and risk all of that falling completely by the wayside and, seeing all of this just go up in flames? Mm-hmm. And I think that that conundrum is essentially what drives the song. And I feel like that cathartic outro is just either the embrace of what is, or the decision to move forward without necessarily saying it. Right. And so there's just so much happening in the song. I feel like it's emotionally a much bigger song than it gets credit for. I don't know. There's a lot going on here, man. I would love to hear from Ed kind of what inspired this song and where his head was at and what it's about. But
you have to get into Jeff's dreams.
Yeah, exactly. Just
see. You are really good at finding the levels and the 3D space of so much of what this band sings about. When I hear this song, I get very few of those. To me, it seems very simple. And that's probably my fault, because my brain doesn't know how to find the 4D chess and find the other levels. So all I can tell you is what makes sense to me. And I'll let the internet tell me why I'm a dummy and what the actual levels are. But I think at the outset, if black is a love that went wrong and your heart is the collateral damage, yet you still wish for the best for them, then I think this is the love that can never be. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's that intimate vulnerability. It's that you open with this beautiful, like, domestic, tender scene, her dressing gown, nothing else.
Right.
That secret grin. It's this quiet, emotional. There's a lot going on here.
There's a lot of coy. There's a lot of flirting. There's a lot of hey, waiting
for the message to come. Right.
Right. There's a torment there. The chains in my heart. Almost like this person has never really felt a reciprocal love before, perhaps. That's what I get out of this. But has felt deeply in a singular way. They have pined outwardly before. They have longed for someone, but maybe they have never gotten it reciprocated. That's what I get. And what drives me out of my mind, and the reason why I say this is because I feel like I've been in situations like this before in my younger days.
So have I, right? So
Hold on.
I go for it. I actually know where you're going with this. Go for it.
How many situations can there be, Paul, where telling someone how you really feel is a bad thing? Unless the other person is married or gay and you're not, or vice versa, to be scared, to be honest with that other person and say, I don't know if I want to commit to telling them how I really feel and jeopardizing this, whatever that gap is that you're talking about. Like, we've been best friends since we were 8, but I've been in love with you for the last 6, but I don't want to ruin this amazing. We have one life. What the fuck are we doing? You've got to tell them. You have to fucking tell them. I'm sorry. This is what drives me up a goddamn river about this song. It's like, no, don't be a dipshit. Don't be a puss. You've got to step out of this cocoon of uncertainty and lack of self-confidence. If this person is 15 or 22, 24, maybe you're a late bloomer, maybe it's like 27. Okay, I get it. Like that totally makes sense. You don't have enough life experience or wisdom to understand that there's always another option. People are getting married at 75. People get divorced and they find their second and third marriages and they have a great life the last 4. There's always another chance.
Here's where I diverge.
So like, why wouldn't you tell them? What are you preserving but your own heartache?
I think he does. Think of the end. For in my dream, you told me to let the longing go. Oh, and the promise I still hold won't tell the
in my dream. He's imagining that.
He's imagining that it's the mix of hope and the resolve to keep those feelings personal, recognizing that it's not requited, right? It's unrequited. So it's this understanding of like, I can't dispel these feelings, right? I can't make this go away, but I recognize that it can't go where I want it to go. And so I'm keeping these feelings personal, and I'm saying that if there's a part of my heart that will always be forever chained, that's reserved for you. And whether you take it or not, you know what I'm saying? If
you never tell them, Paul, if you never let them know, that part of your heart that's chained off is going to weigh you down for the rest of your life. And if you tell them and you get denied as you think that as your inference skills are telling you, as this dream is telling this person, then you know with certainty, and that part of your heart can be unchained. And while it's going to suck for a while, you will find space to move on. And I can tell you this because it's happened to me. I made the play. I said, hey, I think that's the other thing. And I know we've been friends for a while, but like. And it's like, oh, I don't feel the same. And I'm like, shit. Okay.
I
pick ourselves back up. And guess what? Yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
I have moved on, still friends, have a great life and wife and relationship now. And it's like, but if I was to hold on to that would have crushed me.
For sure. And I feel the same way, having been in almost an identical
What are the regrets that you would rather have? Would you rather have regrets that you didn't do something or that you did do something?
I think the former, right? That the regret that I didn't do something would have been far harder to swallow than the regret that I did, and things didn't pan out the way that I thought or hoped that they would at the time. But I think that there's something in that struggle. You know what I'm saying? We have to be. The
struggle is interesting. I will give you that.
I know, but we have to extricate ourselves out of the position of wanting to tell the speaker in the song what he or she shouldn't do. How many songs in the catalog do we enjoy? Do we agree with the choices made by the speaker in Jeremy? Do we agree with the speaker in Rival and the speaker in countless songs in the catalog? That is not.
Well, hold on. Well, let me tell you. So with Jeremy, it's a third person telling. Right?
Fair,
it's like this has happened.
Sure.
But when there's a song where it's saying from a first person, I think a lot of us often will find the moments in our lives where we can be inhabited by that singer.
Yeah,
or vice versa.
I hear you. I think that there are songs in the catalog where maybe we don't necessarily think, where Ed is inhabiting the voice of somebody. You know, like a great example, Footsteps, or you know, Once. This is one of the songs you want to do rearrange, right? Clearly, that's not a song that I'm listening to thinking to myself, yeah, that's a position I hold. Of course not, right?
Speak for yourself, Paul.
Point is that that has not impacted my love for the song, and so I think that there exists the possibility to appreciate even a flawed approach, if that's how we deem it, or one that we may not necessarily share, right? A position that we may not necessarily share, and appreciate the way that it was so beautifully and poetically captured, musically, sonically, lyrically. And just let that breathe and be its space. And for some folks who can't or choose not to go on that route because they don't, I don't know. Like people have their reasons, I guess is what I'm saying. And
they do. And listen, I will say this: I can understand how some people would very much identify with this person and the singer, the subject, and feel that more completely or more, I don't know, directly than I am, because we all approach the way our heart talks to us in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, I understand why people love this song, because it's speaking to a moment that all of us have dealt with. What drives me crazy is that, having been through these moments myself, I know personally that this approach would be worse for me. And so all I want to do is yell at the protagonist here and be like, "What are you doing? Just gotta go."
Okay,
but the song's construction is yes, it's good.
Exactly, and maybe it is what you said. Maybe it's for the person who feels that way about somebody that he or she can never be with.
Sure,
and knows that.
All of my bitching is my attachment to it. I'm not trying to get
projecting
into anybody else's skin or heart or mind or whatever. So people are probably already like furiously clacking on their keyboards. Jason is a son of a bitch. He's totally wrong. I am. You're right. You're absolutely right. What am I doing here? I don't know. Anyways, I knew this was going to be a bit of a fire session here, and it was.
As soon as you said "won't tell," I thought, "All right, let's go."
Was it my suggestion for the song? I forget.
I don't remember actually. I want to say it was. That's
it might have been because it was one of the songs that people wanted to rearrange, and I was like, "Well, that's an easy segue."
Exactly.
Well, now it's out of the way. So now all we have to do is find out the best performance of this song in our live cut of the week.
Ready to stand up!
Okay, Won't Tell has been played 14 times, Paul, across the Dark Matter tour, which is now complete. What are we thinking here? Where are we going?
I'll keep it simple and succinct. There are renditions of this song where Ed actually sings along with the outro. There are renditions where that rhythm guitar plays, center stage as the song goes out. I think that there's a certain fidelity to it and the quality of performance sonically across the board, the energy and I'm going to say it right? Because I haven't in the past, in Melbourne. I want Melbourne's version to be the one that we talk about here, because I think that is the best of the 14 so far.
All right, November 18th, 2024, Melbourne, Australia.
Sympathize, abusing some compromise, throw it in. As she pulled the book up off the shelf, dressing down and nothing else but a secret grin. Oh, and I always had one question, yeah, free of all suggestion. Do I say, oh, keep it in? You can find me waiting for your message to come. Can you hear, can you feel the change in my heart? Waiting for your message to come. Can you hear, can you feel the change in my heart? In my heart.
All right, Paul. So that was an incredible version. I think, with the 14, I think a lot of them tended to sound relatively similar. There were a few that kind of popped out and said, hey, I got something else going on here. And you mentioned it. I think it was it Boston, where it kind of does his own little ad-libby thing at the end.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. And then in Chicago, of course, Abby Hobbs came up and duetted with, is it the right word? Duetted. Sang with Eddie to create some really pretty harmonies across the song, which I thought was really great. But yeah, Melbourne, I think it was probably the most musically robust of the lot. I thought the guitar tone was great. It's a little bit crunchier than some of the other versions. It felt a little bit more subdued on the gain structure of the guitars.
Is this a Brett Eliason discussion? I don't know.
It could be. I'm picking up some terminology from him. And Matt did some really cool hi-hat accent things in the outro, which was a little bit different. I like that. It added to it. And Ed did do a bit of an ad-libby thing here in the outro as well, but it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
Unlike some of the other versions that maybe went on a little too long. Like I want it to go on, but if you're just going to continue what's happening and not maybe add like a little solo flourish or a little something, that it just feels too long in the tooth. So I think this had all the combinations to make it a great performance. And by all counts, in my ears, Melbourne 2 was one of the highlights of the Dark Matter tour as a show. So it's not surprising that our favorite version of Won't Tell was from that show. There you go, Melbourne 2.
Well said.
There you
Musically
go,
robust.
Not unlike this show, it is robust with something. What it is that it's robust with?
Bluster.
That's up to you. Bluster, exactly. And beer out of my beautiful State of Love and Trust Pilsner glass that you can buy now in our store.
A culminating shill.
You got to bookend with the shill. Hey,
You do.
It keeps the show. It keeps this light right here that's in front of my face, and these lights over here, and these lights all on. So we thank anybody who's bought anything like the Pilsner glass, like the shirt, whatever you got.
Or you can buy none of that and just donate to a good cause and get a sticker. How about that?
Do that. World Central Kitchen. Donate whatever you can. Lose my voice here. And as Paul just said, $5 or more. You get the stickers. You get the pins. You get the guitar picks. So we appreciate you, and anybody who donates the most money gets The Last of Us Pearl Jam EP 12-inch vinyl. I'm holding this one. This is it. This is the one you're going to get. So send in your money now. Scan that QR code that you just saw, or the link is below, or there's links everywhere. Instagram bios. Do that. And that's it. If you're watching here on YouTube, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. That is actually the best thing that you could do for us. But if you're listening audio only, the best thing you could do for us is, Paul,
feed that algorithm by rating, reviewing, and subscribing on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed it because we need it.
Sure do. And Paul, did I not tease at the end of the show that we would read some of the some of the reviews here?
Let's do it.
Where'd my phone go?
There's one in particular that I'm very excited for you to share.
So, got the phone right here. Are you ready? The 100th review says, this podcast is a walk down memory lane. I was 15 on August 27th, 1991. That's when 10 came out. And fresh insight into a band I love. Pearl Jam never disappoints, and neither do Jason and Paul. Thank you, J. Paris 1975. You are
Very
a treat.
kind of you.
And I don't know what your real name, or I assume it's J something Paris. Email us or DM us or wherever you are, and you'll get this bad boy. So that's for you.
Well deserved. And, to hear on our 100th review, Jason, that we do not disappoint is special and meaningful. And the only advice I have for this kind soul is brace yourself.
Oh my God.
I am confident that we will at some point in the near future disappoint you.
You've made it 266 episodes. Oh, go back into the back catalog. You'll be disappointed time and again, my friend. Delicious. Anyways, thank all of you for sticking around, and we'll see you next week. And until we do, you've been listening to or watching
The State of Love and Trust.